Recently, I've been having trouble connecting. Normally, when a new semester begins, I get a few new classes of people, and that means new friendships and possible new romantic relationships. I haven't, however, taken any time or effort for that stuff. Instead, I've been admittedly isolationistic, keeping to myself and in privacy, and I don't want to fall back into where I was last fall. The reasons are different now, I think, though. It seems that the reason I'm so hesitant now purely comes from the amount of time and effort it takes to truly be open and honest with another person. I like the emotional payoff, but I don't like going the full mile. I want to feel close to others without leaving myself vulnerable. This sort of revelation, I think, is actually a consistent on some smaller level in my life, and only recently has it been put enough into the forefront for me to recognize it for what it is. This revelation has also led me to feel like I finally understand why I resonate so much with my favorite character in Fooly Cooly, Ninamori. Ninamori is abrasive, confident, cynical, shy, insecure, and logical. You can tell the emotional aspects are within her and just waiting to burst out, but they are often kept under a very tight lock and key with her facade of chill, keeping it cool, and part of the way that she convinces herself of this facade is by trying to buy into it herself. She wants to avoid the pain of being exposed, vulnerable, and hates, just as Naota does, the idea of admitting to her own immaturity. So she has an obvious fake face on for everyone, that anyone would be able to tell if they gave her a second look. But instead of people prying in and wondering if she's okay or what's really going on, she's repeatedly praised for this action as mature, which is what she wants, for keeping her feelings in, for keeping them masked entirely. Although being stubborn and too cool for everything on the surface, you can see this sort of childlike wonder come out whenever she's caught off guard, or when she's more in private, around people she wants to know better. The first silly instance I can think of is when Haruko hits Naota with her Vespa again, and so it sends Naota flying at Ninamori. For a brief moment, she becomes aloof to the situation and begins to blush for an expected kiss. I think that I tend to get diluted even when I try my hardest to avoid it. Diluted in projecting onto others certain understandings that I feel myself alone in. I get a hunch or a feeling or connect to someone and just assume, hey, they must be similar to me, and sometimes that leads to unnecessary embarrassment. There's been more than a few times that I thought someone and I got along personality-wise, and that because of that, even if they didn't know what I was talking about, I wanted to show them this new part of my life. That because of our similar personalities, that they would recognize the sentimentality I felt regardless of whether they cared about the actual surface level thing. But a lot of the time, this sort of stuff is met with confusion. Sometimes they just think it's outright stupid. And so trying to get closer actually drives a temporary, awkward rift between us. A realization to both parties that we don't really know or care about each other as much as we would like to admit. I think Ninamori has this problem too, and it's the second example of her childlike wonder escaping, and she wants to connect. When at Naota's house, she falsely attributes a personality similarity to a motive one. Both Ninamori and Naota hate the idea of being seen as little immature kids, and think that adults are garbage. They act like they have things figured out all around them, and Ninamori picks up on this. Her mistake, though, is that she doesn't realize that their reason for doing so is different. And so she shows her true, vulnerable self. First, she admits to wrongdoing that undermines what most people know about her by saying that she rigged the votes. And then she explains why, assuming that he'll understand, by projecting onto him her own philosophy. One she thinks that Naota shares, but Naota is just confused and lost. She talks about his role as the cat in the play, Puss in Boots, saying, he hides who he really is and pretends to be someone else forever. But in time, he becomes that person, so his lie becomes the truth, see? He transcends the mask. Well, don't you get it? That's how he finds happiness. He doesn't get it. Or maybe he sort of does, but not as fully as Ninamori. Ninamori lives this every day. Everyone looks at her as the class president, as the mayor's daughter. They are waiting for a crack to show in the mask, and as possibility of divorce sprouts publicly, as her dad is cheating on her mom with the secretary, the press floods outside of her home and doesn't allow peace and quiet, so she has to skulk around alone. She doesn't want to look like she needs anyone, or that she is bothered by the events. She wants to look like she isn't suffering, or that she is happy. And if she wears the mask long enough, she will eventually be how she acts. But that's near impossible, and I think that that's part of her arc. Realizing her own immaturity and realizing where it is and isn't valid is more mature than being cynical and pretending to be someone that she's not. Realizing that she is not going to get happy by lying to others and to herself. That being said, she doesn't owe anybody the whole truth. So I think her arc ushers her into maturity, true maturity, as well as setting up the future conflict of her character, regardless of what the show goes into, because she's built in a nuanced fashion. The final scene where she is on the stage, for the play that she really cared about, that she sacrificed some of her public integrity to play a lead role in. She knew that there was a possibility that this would be the last time both her parents came to see her together, and she wanted to show them everything she had. That she was important. A school president in the lead role, playing on a stage as she does in her everyday, except she's wearing the glasses. But wait, no she isn't. The glasses in Naota's room were real, because she normally wears contacts. Those glasses have lenses that reflect light, but these ones on the stage, these ones are just the rims. So why show a fake you that resembles the real you? The illusion of vulnerability, the connection without the sacrifice. And I think that is because she has matured in realizing that just because she has matured and doesn't have to wear a mask that constantly lies to everyone, doesn't mean that everyone else has a right to know everything about her. So when she turns back to stage and says the final line, I think it has dual purpose. If he ever were to tell the others she actually wears red glasses and those are real, then he would look silly. She's taken back the control of her insecurity and vulnerability and is recognizing her role as the arbiter of it, showing it maturely to the extent she finds appropriate to the public. Not so much wearing a mask as only showing some of the items in the box. Some of those items, however, are more important and more reserved and rightfully are more special and should be shown to fewer people. And it is the maturity that she decides what about herself to show to others. The second thing she is doing, I think, is quietly assuring him that when she opened up to him, that was real. Even if it looks like she is being completely open to others at the moment, she's letting him know that there was a real special significance to how she treated him and how she felt. That's something really hard to admit sometimes, especially as it seems he doesn't reciprocate her feelings in the series. Realizing to your feelings and admitting to them, even when things don't go your way, is hard. Most people can't do it no matter how old they are, and I think that displays the true maturity that she's grown into. Ninamori is the master of her feelings, not because she hides them, but because she learns why they are important, and when they can be meaningful to the others in her life.
They're fake.
Hey guys, quick update. So, as many of you guys know, I'm a junior at college and I'm currently living about 8 hours away from home. As the semester has gone on, my time has become more and more scarce and I've gotten less and less sleep. For the last couple of months, the idea of starting a Patreon had been tossed around with lots of different people, and today I am deciding to officially start it, because it looks like I may need to get a part-time job otherwise, which, even if it's only 1 or 2 nights a week, will be cutting into what little time I have to make videos. So, I appreciate the support if you are able. If not, no worries, of course. I'm just glad that I have so many people willing to listen to what I have to say in the first place. Thank you all for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next week.